The Washington Commanders have their new head coach. Welcome into the Commanders Report by Chat Sports. I am your host, Jack Sperry, and it is Dan Quinn, the former defensive coordinator for the Dallas Cowboys and former head coach for the Atlanta Falcons, getting the position here in a move that really feels similar to most fans like the Ron Rivera hire. And we're going to be discussing all the pros, all the cons of this hire, what it means for the Commanders' offseason plan, who could be Dan Quinn's future offensive coordinator, which is the next step in this process. But right now, man, let's just react to this news together right here live on the Commanders Report. Later in today's show, we are going to be doing a Q&A. So if you have a comment, if you have an idea for this offseason, if you have a question about this hire, go ahead and get your questions down there in the comment section. Use hashtag WAS and get your questions down there. But first, go down there in the live chat right now and let me know. Grade the hiring of Dan Quinn as the next head coach of the Washington Commanders. Give me an A, a B, a C, a D, or an F. All right, so let me know down there for a shout out. I see Rick Ganta in there. Irv Wallace gives it a B. Daniel McCormick is here. We got Indian Lake, Ohio. Isn't Commanders a little long? We could do hashtag Commanders. I don't care. And then we got Rich Ganta in there giving it a D. Indian Lake, Ohio is giving it a C. Jalen's dad is saying it's a C at best. Dion Prime is giving it a C. Keith is asking who's going to be a supporting cast. We're going to talk about that on today's show. We got Hurley with a B. Gene is giving it an F-. Does not like this hire at all. John Lawrence is in the chat giving it a C. We got Cardo Stackin giving it a B. Denial M giving it a C. Daniel McCormick's giving it a not available, so I guess he hasn't made up his mind yet. Gerald Myers says C for sure. Henry Schneider says, hi, Jack. I love you. I love you too, Henry. Thank you for showing up, my friend. All right, so for me personally, I'm going to give this hire a B. Okay, and I think that's going to be higher than a lot of people in that chat room right now, and I understand why. All right, Dan Quinn, a lot about this hire is similar to the Ron Rivera hiring, right? It's a defensive-minded head coach, a former head coach in this league that's known as a culture builder, formerly went to a Super Bowl as a head coach and lost. I mean, there's a lot about this hiring that is literally the exact same as Ron Rivera. However, I do think this hiring is better than Rivera for a couple of reasons. Number one, I think Dan Quinn runs a much different style of defense than Ron Rivera, and I think that defense is going to be quite successful here in Washington. And then number two, I think that his connections in terms of a potential offensive coordinator hire are a lot better than Ron Rivera's. I think that Dan Quinn being connected to Kyle Shanahan as his former offensive coordinator there at the Falcons gives him very unique access to some of his assistant coaches there in San Francisco. So if Dan Quinn ends up hiring Clint Kubiak, who is arguably the number one offensive coordinator target in the National Football League, then what do you have? You got a great culture builder and one of the most respected leaders in the league in Dan Quinn, all right? You've got somebody that's a great defensive mind that has crafted some of the best defenses in football over the last several years. And then if you get a really good offensive coordinator like Clint Kubiak, you got one of the hottest offensive minds in the National Football League to run your offense with a brand new rookie quarterback, most likely coming in next offseason. So am I going to say it was an A+, like if they would have hired Ben Johnson or Bobby Slowick? No, all right. I've been saying on the show for weeks, I wanted an offensive head coach because I think the track record with rookie quarterbacks, with offenses versus defensive head coaches, I think it speaks for itself. But as far as defensive head coaches go, you're getting a really good leader here in Dan Quinn who runs a really good style of defense, and he's got connections to the most successful offensive tree in the National Football League today. So as far as defensive hires go, I think this hire is pretty darn good. And, oh, yeah, he's got inside information on the Dallas Cowboys. So let me know what you guys think. Does Dan Quinn being the next head coach here in Washington give the Commanders an advantage over the Dallas Cowboys moving forward? And honestly, guys, I really do think that this does give them at least a slight advantage. I mean, he goes up against that offense in practice every single day. He knows the personnel on that defense, forwards, backwards, and sideways. Absolutely. We're going to bring in our producer today, Mr. Jeremy Chuggs, who is actually an Eagles fan. So as an Eagles fan, all right, What do you think about this hire? Do you think it's a good hire for the Commanders, or do you think it's better for the Eagles that he just got hired as the next head coach?
I think it's an advantage any way you put it because obviously he knows the division. He played the Commanders, he played the Eagles, he played the Giants 2 times a year. And hey, like you said, every single day he watched that pitiful Cowboys offense.
Oh, my goodness, man. And another thing that's pretty interesting here is Ron Rivera might be one of the top D.C. candidates in Dallas now. So wouldn't that be crazy if Dan Quinn is the head coach here in Washington and then Ron Rivera is the defensive coordinator there in Dallas? I mean, that'd be kind of nuts. And I think that'd be good for both of us here. Commanders fan, Eagles fan. If Ron Rivera is the DC there in Dallas, I think that defense is going off the rails because that guy stinks.
Agreed.
All right, man. Let me know down there in the chat what you guys think. I like this hire more than probably most Commanders fans, honestly, because I understand that on the surface here, it looks like a Ron Rivera type hire, right? And it's more of the same here in Washington. I understand why people are upset, but at the same time, I can see what Washington is thinking here. Bobby Slowick and Ben Johnson said no. All right, you didn't really interview any other offensive-minded head coaches. The Commanders said from the beginning they wanted to find the best leader for their locker room. Dan Quinn is one of the most respected leaders in the National Football League.
Also, this is a North Texas shirt.
Yeah, that's not an Eagles shirt, all right?
UNT, green.
By the way, we'll get to our Super Chat menu in a little bit here. $20 Super Chats, I get to slap Chugs in the face with a tortilla.
What? I did not. I didn't know about that one.
I snuck that into the Super Chat menu today.
Half.
So, also, Jeremy is the host of our Texans channel, and we're in a little bit of a subscriber battle right now. I said that we are going to pass the Texans Today crew in subscribers by the draft. We're about 500 subscribers behind our Texans channel, and he says there's no way we're going to be able to get it done. So click that subscribe button if you want to help us beat the Texans this offseason.
There's 350 people in here. Thank you to everybody for clicking into the live show. But I need to know, obviously, Commanders fans are all over the nation. Where are you watching from?
Let me know down there in the chat. We'll give you guys a shout out here. It's going to be interesting. So Indian Lake, Ohio actually says something interesting down there in the chat. What if he keeps Eric Bieniemy as his offensive coordinator? And honestly, I mean, I'd be okay with that, honestly. I like Eric Bieniemy, but I also really am intrigued with the idea of going and getting somebody like a Clint Kubiak, somebody that's connected to that Kyle Shanahan tree. I mean, we've seen all these guys from that tree just have success everywhere.
Got people from Portugal watching.
Kevin Piera's from Portugal. We got Yanni from Arizona. Jalen's dad from Washington, D.C. We got Dennis Hill from Winchester, Virginia. Jeremy is watching from Connecticut. Ooh, Eugene YC is watching from Taiwan. Oh, my goodness. Reggie saying D.C., of course. Irv Wallace is from Atlanta, Georgia. The Dark Gemini is from Maryland. Hurley is from North Carolina. Bob, how do you say that? Milstead. Bob Milstead's from Arizona as well. Henry Schneider's from Pennsylvania. Roger A., Dallas, Texas. You could come to the studio, Raj. Well, let's go, man. We got Jay Hunter from D.C., Trey Roberson from Denver, Keith Bosher, I don't know how to say that, Petersburg, Virginia, Mitchell Matthews from South Carolina, Corey Booker from Virginia, Indian Lakes from Lakeview, Ohio. Welcome into the show, everybody. We're going to be talking about this hire. What's that? That is correct. All right, so let's get to the Super Chat menu real quick here, guys, because if you guys Super Chat, so if you guys don't know how to Super Chat, it's that money symbol right down there by the live chat. You click that money sign. It looks like a dollar bill. You put in a dollar amount, and then you send it. And what that does is that donates to the channel, and all that money goes to giving you guys more in-depth, high-quality Commanders Report coverage right here on YouTube. So we appreciate anybody that sends in those Super Chats today. Any Super Chat, you get a shout-out. And if you have a question along with a Super Chat, you will be guaranteed to get on today's Q&A portion of today's show. And then also, for February, we have a special raffle promotion here on the Commanders Report. We're going to be going live every single Thursday for the month of February, breaking down the Commanders' offseason, what their plans are going to be. And every $5 that you spend in Super Chats, on this channel will get you one raffle ticket to win an awesome t-shirt that we've got for you guys. And we'll show that here, right here. And it's an I Survived the Dan Snyder Era t-shirt. I kind of love this t-shirt, man. I'm not going to lie. So every $5 that you spend this month on the Commanders Report here on our live shows, you get one raffle ticket to win that at the end of the month. Okay, so if you want an I Survived Dan Snyder era t-shirt, $5 super chat will get you into the raffle. $10, we'll be taking shots today. I don't drink alcohol, so I'll be drinking a tequila alternative, which I think tastes worse. I think it's the worst tasting thing in the world. Jeremy's got Patron. We'll be taking shots for you guys for every $10 you guys send in. Plus, you get 2 raffle tickets if you spend $10. And then if you want me to slap the Eagles fan in the face with a tortilla, $20 super chats. Every single time we get a 20, I'm slapping him in the face. Let's go. All right, let's get it going. We got the first $10 super chat in here from Indian Lake, Ohio. Let's go, baby. That's a shot. I do not have the shot glasses, so Jeremy's going to go get the tequila real quick. We're going to take some shots for my man, Indian Lake, Ohio. And all right, so we got 39 likes right now. We want to get up to 100 likes before we get into our segment today. I'm going to be breaking down my feelings on the Dan Quinn hiring. I'm going to let you know the top offensive coordinator candidates that are connected to Quinn and who could be the next OC of the Washington Commanders. All that's coming up here in just a couple of minutes, but we got over 320 people watching. Make sure you click that thumbs up icon so that we can get into our first segment today. We're going to do the instant live reaction for you guys. I'm going to let you know my thoughts on the hiring here, why I actually like this hiring more than probably most Commanders fans out there. And then also after that, we're going to be doing a live Q&A where I'm going to be answering your questions about this hiring, about a potential offensive coordinator hire, all the offseason plans that are coming up. All righty. So this is what I'm drinking today. It is just completely nasty tequila alternative, and Jeremy's got Patron. Okay, so let's get this going. Cheers. These are the big shot glasses. I love it. God, I hate the taste of tequila, man. And then fake tequila is even worse, man. It's even worse. Okay. Okay, so now like the video here. We got 63 likes, over 300 people watching. We need to get to 100 likes here before we get into our first segment today, where I talk about this hire and what it means for the Washington Commanders franchise moving forward. So do me a favor right now, click that thumbs up icon, get us going. We're at 69 likes, Chugs. Very nice. If you click that thumbs up icon, type me in the chat. I'll give you a shout out here real quick. Everybody that clicks that thumbs up icon, type me in the chat. I see Carlos Lara in there. I see Hurley in there. I see Penn in there. I see Reginald's in there. I see Juice World fan in there. I see Henry Schneider. I see the Dark Gemini. I see Hey Deezy. I see Justin Steele. Who else clicked that thumbs up icon? Who's the real ones in here? We got John in here. We got Biglam in here. We got Cardio Stacking. We got James Taylor. We got Juice World fan. We got Ogent. Come on, we need 13 more likes. Who's going to get us there? We got Jenny Fletcher. Let's go. We got Black Classic Live. We got Derek Brown. We got Jay Hunter. We got Dwight Phillips. We got Daryl Spencer. We got Kenny Strausser. We got Hurley again. We got Dwight Phillips. We got Reload. We just got there, people. 100 likes to kick things off. So now, let's get into this segment right now. Did we get the prize picks? I think we forgot to get the prize picks in the first 7. Should we get that right now? I think we got to hit it, right? Okay. So before we get into this first segment here, we do have to get to our sponsor read right here. So today we're going to be talking about our sponsor, PrizePicks. You can go to prizepicks.com/CLNS and use our code CLNS for a first deposit match up to $100. today. If you want this year's Super Bowl viewing experience on your end to be even more interesting, you can get started with today's sponsor, PrizePicks, which is a skill-based, real money daily fantasy sports game. And you might be asking yourselves, how does it work, Jack? Well, here's how. You pick 2 to 6 players. If they'll go for more or less than their PrizePicks projection, you can even win up to 25 times your money on any entry. You can check it out now at prizepicks.com/CLNS and use our code CLNS for a first deposit match up to $100 today. At PrizePicks, you aren't competing against other people. It's just you versus the projections available instead of battling thousands of other players, including pros and sharks that are just looking to take advantage of you. With PrizePicks, it takes less than 60 seconds to make your picks. So get started right now. Go to prizepicks.com/CLNS and use our code CLNS for a first deposit match up to $100 today. For the big game in Vegas, I'm an optimist, guys, so I'm going to take the more on Christian McCaffrey rush yards and then the more on both tight ends in receiving yards. Travis Kelce, George Kittle, love them both. I'm going to take the more on that. You can get your picks in now by using code CLNS at prizepicks.com/CLNS for a first deposit match up to $100 today. All right, so we're going to get into this first segment right now. My instant reaction to the Washington Commanders hiring Cowboys defensive coordinator Dan Quinn to be their next head coach. Make sure you guys click that thumbs up icon to support the show. And without further ado, Jeremy, are we getting about ready to go here? All right, let's get into this first segment coming at you right now. The Washington Commanders have a new head coach, and it is former Dallas Cowboys defensive coordinator and Atlanta Falcons head coach Dan Quinn. And honestly, guys, this is definitely an interesting hire for me. I think I like this hire more than most Commanders fans out there. And throughout today's show, I'm going to answer why that is. I actually think this could end up being a really good hire for the Washington Commanders. But before I give my reasons why here, do me a favor, click that subscribe button, because this is why you subscribe to the Commanders Report right here. Every time the Commanders make a big move this offseason, when they hire their offensive and defensive coordinators, when they sign players in free agency, when they make draft picks, if they make a trade this offseason, we're going to be right here on the Commanders Report giving you guys breaking news coverage whenever that breaking news hits. So do me a favor right now, click that subscribe button and help us reach 20,000 subscribers. So now let's talk about Dan Quinn, the new head coach of the Washington Commanders. He was the Atlanta Falcons head coach from 2015 to 2020. Of course, he went to the Super Bowl in that year that Matt Ryan won the MVP. Kyle Shanahan was his offensive coordinator. Things started to fall apart towards the end of his tenure there in Atlanta. But then he goes to the Dallas Cowboys, and over these last 3 seasons, that defense has been one of the best in football. Consistently towards the top of the league in turnovers, really good system, and he runs a hybrid Seattle 3, so he'll run cover 3 match. But last year with the Dallas Cowboys specifically, they did a lot of cover 1 man coverage with press coverage on the outside with their corners. So it's definitely going to be interesting to see how this new defense kind of works out with the Washington Commanders, because they ran a Fangio system with off coverage and zone, and now it seems like Dan Quinn is going to be bringing in an offense that's a defense, I should say, that's very aggressive. He's going to blitz a lot. He's going to try to get some really, really nice edge rushers in this defense to really help himself out and help out this team. And honestly, man, I think that he's one of the best leaders in the National Football League. At least that's his reputation around the National Football League. The news was broken by Adam Schefter this morning, who says, from Dallas to D.C., the Commanders are hiring Cowboys defensive coordinator Dan Quinn as their head coach, per league sources. And it continues to say here, Quinn and the Commanders GM Adam Peters are the 2 men now charged with leading Washington into the future. And, you know, there's a lot of people out there that are comparing this hiring to Ron Rivera and how they're both defensive guys, how they're both former head coaches that went to a Super Bowl and lost, and it's just more of the same when it comes to the Washington Commanders. I absolutely understand why people think that, all right? But I think there's 2 major differences between the Dan Quinn hiring and Ron Rivera as a head coach. Number one, I think they run very different styles of defense, and I prefer Dan Quinn's style to Ron Rivera's. And then number two, I think he's got better connections to the Kyle Shanahan tree and some of the better offensive coordinator candidates out there, but we'll talk about that later in today's show. So let's talk about Quinn's defense in 2023 with the Dallas Cowboys, which was a pretty darn good defense, if I do say so myself. The only areas that they were below league average was third down percentage on defense and red zone percentage on defense, but they were number one in takeaways. It seems like they're always in the top three in takeaways. It's a very aggressive defense. That's kind of all or nothing. They love to get turnovers. And then you look at the results there with the points per game. Top 5 in the league in points per game allowed. Very good stuff from Dan Quinn's Dallas Cowboys. And hopefully he can bring this kind of defensive success here to Washington, who had arguably the worst defense in the National Football League in 2023. Now let me know down there in the comment section for today's pinned comment. What is your one-word reaction to the Commanders hiring Dan Quinn as their next head coach? Let me know down there in the comment section for today's pinned comment. At some point, YouTube's going to throw you an ad break here. When that happens, take advantage of that time by giving me your one-word reaction. For me personally, my one word is relax, all right? I understand why some Commanders fans are upset with this hiring. They wanted an offensive head coach. They wanted somebody younger. I get all of those objections, okay? But in terms of leadership, in terms of being really good on the defensive side of the ball, and in terms of having really good offensive coordinator connections around the league, I think that as far as defensive head coaches go, Dan Quinn, it's really, really tough to do better than him if you are the Washington Commanders. And at the end of the day, Adam Peters and Josh Harris said they wanted to get the best leader possible for this locker room. And given the way that people talk about Dan Quinn in NFL circles, I think they might have their guy. Now, still to come here on the Commanders Report, my top candidates for the offensive coordinator and defensive coordinator positions for the Washington Commanders after Dan Quinn's hiring. And then also we'll talk about which quarterback Dan Quinn will likely want to bring in as his new starting quarterback here in the nation's capital. But before we talk about those things, let's have a word from our sponsor here at PrizePicks. Go to prizepicks.com/CLNS and use our code CLNS for a first deposit match up to $100 today. If you want this year's Super Bowl viewing experience to be even more interesting for yourself, you can get started with today's sponsor, PrizePicks, which is a skill-based, real money, daily fantasy sports game. And if you're wondering how it works, here's how you play. You pick 2 to 6 players. If they'll go for more or less than their PrizePicks projection, you can even win up to 25 times your money on any entry. At PrizePicks, you aren't competing against other people. It's just you versus the projections available instead of battling thousands of other players, including pros and sharks that are just looking to take advantage of you. So let's take a look at my entry for Super Bowl 58 between the Kansas City Chiefs and the San Francisco 49ers. I'm an optimist, guys, so I'll take the more on everybody here. I'll take the more on rush yards for C-Mac. I'll take the more on both tight ends here for receiving yards for Travis Kelce and George Kittle. You can get your picks in right now when you go to prizepicks.com/CLNS and use our code CLNS for first deposit match up to $100 today. That's code CLNS at prizepicks.com/CLNS for a deposit match up to $100 today. So now let's talk about the OC and DC candidates here for Dan Quinn, because that's the next step in the process here for the Washington Commanders. And really, I think that we're going to focus more on the offensive coordinator side, because Dan Quinn is most likely going to call his own defense here in Washington. And honestly, man, I think that Quinn's got some really good connections to some of the top offensive coordinator candidates in the National Football League, because Kyle Shanahan is his former offensive coordinator. All right, he has that connection already built in. And right now, the San Francisco 49ers have some of the hottest OC candidates in the National Football League. Clint Kubiak is number 1 on most teams' lists right now. If the Commanders can land Clint Kubiak, you get Dan Quinn's defense, his leadership in the locker room, and a Kyle Shanahan offense. I think that sounds pretty darn good to me. Some other options, Brian Greasy, their quarterbacks coach, Chris Forster, their run game coordinator and offensive line coach, might be a good fit here in Washington. And then you got Darrell Bevel, the QB coach there in Miami, and maybe Luke Getsy, former OC from the Bears. But honestly, I would rather have the top 4 guys on this list way more than Luke Getsy. And listen, if Dan Quinn goes this route, and I expect that he will go get a Shanahan guy. That means I think Drake May is the best fit to be the next starting quarterback for the Washington Commanders. I think that he is more built to run an under center type of scheme. He plays within structure a lot better, in my opinion, than either Caleb Williams or Jaden Daniels. And I really do think that Drake May is tailor-made for a Shanahan-style offense here in the nation's capital. Here's my scouting report on Drake May. I really like his pocket presence. I think one of the more underrated aspects of his game is getting outside of the pocket and being a playmaker outside of structure. I think people see him more as a pocket passer, but he can do both. He's somebody that can absolutely do that. He's got great size. He's got a great arm. He can throw from any angle. Now, the cons on him is that the processing can be a little bit slow at times, but, he's a college kid. Those things can get better with time. His footwork does have some issues. He can get a little heel clicky at times, can get a little toesy at times, and sometimes the decision-making can be a little bit inconsistent. He didn't necessarily finish his career with the Tar Heels the way that he necessarily wanted to, but at the end of the day, man, like that offensive line was terrible. His wide receivers weren't as good as it was in 2022, and he had to overcome a lot of adversity, and I actually think that he grew quite a bit his last season there at UNC, and I think that he's going to get even better as he goes into the National Football League, and I think that he's a perfect fit for the Washington Commanders if they end up getting somebody from the Kyle Shanahan tree to be their next offensive coordinator. But let me know down there in the comments section, what's your pick? Would you rather trade up for Caleb Williams at number 1, type CW? Would you like to draft Jaden Daniels, type JD? Or if you'd rather go with Drake May, type DM down there in the comments section to let me know who you want to be the next quarterback of the Washington Commanders. As for the defensive coordinator position here for the Commanders, I think it's less important because I do think Quinn is going to be in charge of calling the defense and game planning for the defense. So there's definitely some guys that you could look at, maybe one of his assistants there in Dallas, maybe somebody from San Francisco as well. Again, that Shanahan connection if he has a defensive coach that he really likes. We'll see what it looks like in terms of the defensive coordinator, and we'll have a video later in the week on possible defensive coordinator candidates for the Washington Commanders. All right, that's going to be it for this breaking news edition of the show. Thank you guys so much for all of your support. I mean, I just disappeared there for a second, but I'm back here. So make sure you guys click that subscribe button because I'm never going to disappear here, man. Because the Commanders Report will always be here for you guys with breaking news action on the Burgundy and Gold all offseason long. So make sure you click that subscribe button for me right now. F producer Chugs for making me disappear there for a second, but we made it work. All right, so use hashtag Commanders down there in the live chat to get your question on today's Q&A. And also, you can super chat to guarantee your question gets on. Okay, because the only way you can guarantee that your question gets on the show today is if you super chat. Now, if you put hashtag Commanders, you might get on the show. It's up to producer Jeremy. But if you super chat today, your question automatically goes to the top of the list, okay? So make sure you guys get those questions in. Hashtag Commanders in the live chat. If you don't put hashtag Commanders, producer Jeremy can't see your question, okay? So you have to put hashtag Commanders to get your question, your idea, your comment on the show for everybody to see. So get them down there right now. I want to say hi to Daryl Irwin, Juice World fan. We got Brad Tatro, or Tatro, however you say it. Spider Monkey 304, Eric Wilson, Corey Booker's here, Bobby Emberson. What's up, guys? He says anyone but Drake. What do you think about that, Jeremy? Do you like Drake May as a quarterback prospect?
Yeah, I mean, I don't mind Drake May whatsoever as one of the top guys. I mean, I think from what we've seen this past season, I think it's more important who the OC is than who the new quarterback is, because I think the margin between Drake May, Caleb Williams, and Jaden Daniels, I don't think it's too far off between those three prospects. I think it's how they develop and what situation you put these guys in moving forward on how good they can be. I mean, you look at C.J. Stroud and Bryce Young. Who knows what would have happened if C.J. Stroud was drafted by the Panthers and Bryce Young to the Texans? Maybe we're talking about Bryce Young being a perennial, MVP
Pro Bowler,
candidate.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, it's definitely possible. You look at the Commanders situation here. I look at kind of scheme fit and quarterback fit and like their skill set versus scheme. If Eric Bieniemy is kept on as the offensive coordinator, I would be in favor of anybody. I think anybody could really fit his offense, but Caleb Williams and the Eric Bieniemy offense, that would be very tantalizing to me. It's definitely going to be interesting to see what happens. Honestly, I think even if the Commanders want to go get Caleb Williams, though, I think the Bears are going to take him. It seems like they're kind of dead set on taking Caleb Williams at this point, in my opinion. And honestly, if I'm the Bears, that's what I'm doing. I'm taking Caleb Williams. I think they're a playoff team next year with Caleb Williams as their quarterback. And that leaves the Commanders with a choice here between Drake May or Jaden Daniels. And listen, if it's more of a spread system, I think either one of them's fine. But if it's more of a West Coast, under center, play action type of offense, I think Drake May is the better fit for that type of scheme. I really, really do. He's got the arm talent. He's got the playmaking ability. He can throw on the run. He can play within structure very, very well. And he's played under adversity before, right? He's played with a bad offensive line before. He's played with less than ideal wide receivers. Like, he has had to play in those kinds of circumstances. And Jaden Daniels only had one good season at LSU, and that was with one of the best wide receiver cores in the league and one of the best offensive lines in the league. And Jaden Daniels, as kind of a skinny kid, doesn't do a good job at protecting himself. Takes big hit after big hit. And in the NFL, that's a recipe for injury. That's what we talked about with Bryce Young last year. Yeah. I think Jaden Daniels has the same issue. And it might be even worse because he's taller. All right, so the leverage is not on his side like it is with Bryce Young. So I'm looking at that decision. I'm on probably the Drake May train right now. I get why people are excited about Jaden Daniels. But Drake May does rank above Jaden Daniels on my quarterback list as of right now for a reason. So how are we looking on questions here, Jeremy? Are we getting some questions down in there?
Yeah, I think we're pretty good. We have a couple questions already in there. So if you're ready to go, I'm ready to get this train rolling.
Let's flash that super chat menu real quick.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
Just in case we have any new people here. We're actually doing a raffle for the month of February. So, of course, today is February 1st. Every $5 that you spend equals one raffle ticket to win a I Survived the Dan Snyder Era t-shirt. Mr. Chugs, can you show that t-shirt picture to the people when you get a chance here? Any super chat, you get your shout out, you get your question on the show guaranteed. $10 we're taking shots, and $20 I'm slapping the crap out of Eagles fan, Mr. Jeremy Chugg. So there's the t-shirt. Every $5 that you spend equals one raffle ticket to win this t-shirt at the end of the month. So if you want a chance to win that, send in those super chats. $20 gets you 4 raffle tickets, and I get to slap Chugs. $10 is a shot and 2 raffle tickets. So if you guys want that t-shirt, you want a chance to win it, send in those super chats. Every $5 you spend, it equals 1 raffle ticket to win the t-shirt. Okay, so now let's get into this mailbag coming at you right quick. Jeremy, are we ready to go?
Give me just one moment. Keep on getting those questions in. And if you haven't already, hit that like button.
Absolutely. We got 159 likes right now. Let's try to get that number up to 200 likes, all right? Let's get up to 200 likes before the end of the mailbag. Keep getting those questions in. Let's get it going. Let's get it going. Make sure you click that thumbs up icon. Patriot Clip says Dan Quinn was option C or D. Bad look for the Commanders. Not a good hire. I mean, do we know for sure that he was option C or D? I don't think we know the answer to that question. Like, I think Ben Johnson was definitely option A, and he said no. But do we know Bobby Slowick was really a finalist for this job? I mean, who knows? We don't know how those interviews went. It seems like the Commanders were looking for the best possible leader, and Bobby Slowick is super young. It's very possible that he's not the leader that he's going to be in 5 to 10 years. It's very possible that Dan Quinn was the best leader out of all of these guys. Okay, so I'm not sure if it's totally sure that he was option C or D at this point. So I'm trying to be optimistic about this. I understand why some people don't like the hire because it's very similar to Ron Rivera, at least on paper. But I do think that there's certain things that I like about this hire that make it better than Ron Rivera. I do. I think the offensive coordinator candidates are going to be better, and I think the defensive structure is better than what we had with Rivera. So personally, that's where I'm at. Without further ado, let's get to your questions right now on the Commanders Report live Q&A mailbag coming at you right now. The Commanders have a brand new head coach in Dan Quinn. So today I'm going to be answering your questions kind of going over the fallout from this news update for the Washington Commanders. But before I get into that, make sure you guys click that subscribe button for me right now for the most interactive Commanders YouTube channel and content here on YouTube. Every single week we do these mailbags to get your voices heard on the Commanders Report. So if you want to get your questions, your comments, your Commanders mock drafts even, or just to ask a question, you can join us for our Commanders Report live shows every single Thursday right here on the channel. So let's start here with Juice World Fan 999 says, what do you think will happen to Sam Howell? I think they're going to keep him, and he's going to be the backup next year. Okay, they might say something along the lines of, oh, he's going to start camp as the starter, and the rookie that they're going to draft is going to have to earn his keep. But make no bones about it, man. I think that, if you draft a quarterback number 2 overall, whether it be Caleb Williams, whether it be Drake May, whether it be Jaden Daniels, you're drafting that quarterback to be your franchise guy and your starter immediately, okay? So I think whoever they draft is going to be the starter. Sam Howell, as somebody that was drafted in the 5th round, super affordable quarterback as a backup option that has playing experience. I think he's a very quality backup, and he will stay on here with the Commanders moving forward. Then we got one from Uncle Monk with Charlie Brown. Nice. I love that profile picture, by the way. It says, Quinn very well may be a good hire, but you can't blame the fan base for being unenthused. Absolutely. All right, Uncle Monk, I completely understand why people are upset with this hire because, it's kind of like a clone of the Ron Rivera hire, right? Defensive head coach, somebody that went to a Super Bowl as a former head coach and lost, right? Somebody that is seen as a culture builder. Like, the similarities are definitely there. But the reason why I am definitely optimistic about this hire is that I think he is actually a legitimately great leader. I think that he's got really good offensive coordinator connections with the Kyle Shanahan tree, and I think that his defensive structure is a lot better than what Ron Rivera was having here with the Commanders. So although on paper there are definitely some similarities, and I definitely don't blame fans for feeling kind of unenthused about not getting an offensive head coach, I do think that this has the potential to work out, and at the end of the day, people are going to like this hire when it's all said and done. Then we got one from Ryan M., and he says, thank you for taking Dan Quinn off our hands. As a Cowboys fan, yes, he will make your defense better, but the ceiling is well-defined, so be prepared. Shanahan will own you. Well, here's the thing about Shanahan. He's going to send, I think, one of his best assistants to the Washington Commanders. All right, Shanahan and Quinn are good friends. Okay, so they're going to, I think Shanahan is going to be like, hey, Clint Kubiak's the next guy up. Or he's going to say Brian Greasy is the next man up. And he's going to send him to the Washington Commanders where he's going to be the offensive coordinator. And you're going to have a Shanahan-style offense. The same type of offense that they're running in San Francisco, that they're running in Miami, right? All these different places that are having massive success. You're going to have that style of offense with a Dan Quinn defense, which is like first, second, or third in turnovers every single year. All right, so this is something that I'm definitely if they were going to hire a defensive head coach, I think this is just about as good as you could have done. And overall, I do feel pretty optimistic about this hire moving forward. But I do need to see who the OC hire is before I make a final decision on that. Then we got one from Ricky Thompson. He says, what will the Commanders do in the draft with Dan Quinn? So I would assume quarterback at number 2. Okay, and then I really don't think the plan changes all that much, right? You still need offensive line help. You still need help on defense, right? You could maybe even use another running back at some point in the draft, right? So you definitely still have the same team needs, but I would definitely like to see what he's going to do with guys that are set to hit free agency. Guys like Kendall Fuller, guys like Cameron Curl, guys that fit more of that Fangio kind of cover 4, off coverage type of system. Dan Quinn's bringing in a heavy man coverage, press coverage, that style of our defense now. So do those guys really fit that style? I guess we'll have to see what Dan Quinn sees in them and their talent moving forward here on the defensive side of the ball. But honestly, with the draft, I'm not sure how much this hiring changes the overall plan for the Washington Commanders. Now let me know down there in the comments section, who will the Commanders take with the number 2 overall pick? It's probably going to be a quarterback. Let me know what you guys think down there in the comments section. But if you think they're going to trade down, also let me know that down there in the comments section for today's pinned comment. YouTube's going to throw you an ad break here in just a couple of seconds. When that happens, take advantage of that time by answering today's pinned question. Then we got one from Spider Monkey 30 here. He says, Dan Quinn versus Eric Bieniemy cage match. Who wins? I think Dan Quinn, man. I think that, he's got the backwards hat. He's got the goatee. I think he's more in shape than Eric is. I think that a cage match, fight to the death, I'll take Dan Quinn over Eric Bieniemy. All right, guys, make sure you guys, never mind. We got the next question here from Wild Hogs. And he says, should we consider trading back and signing Russell Wilson? I don't think so. Russell Wilson's intriguing because you can get him for the vet minimum. There's a clause in his contract where you can sign him for the vet minimum, which is like $1.6 million against the cap, and then Denver has to pay the rest of his contract, all right? So it definitely makes sense from a financial standpoint. It would open up all that cap space to go out and really make some splashes in free agency. However, I think that if you have the opportunity to take a future franchise quarterback who's like 21, 22 years old, number 2 overall, you got to take that opportunity because you don't have that guarantee you're going to have that opportunity again. Russell Wilson is older. This team is rebuilding. I'm not sure if it's a true fit between Russell Wilson and this team moving forward. I think they're going to have to draft a quarterback, number 2 overall. Then we got one from Commanders fan number 1, and he says, do you think we'll make the playoffs this year? It depends on how fast the defense is going to be able to develop because, listen, this defense is built to run a Ron Rivera off coverage, Jack Del Rio, cover 4, cover 6 type defense. Dan Quinn's not going to run that system. So he's going to have to get pretty much brand new personnel on the defensive side of the ball, and they're going to have to really gel together quickly, not to mention you're going to have a rookie quarterback next year. So maybe the Commanders don't make the playoffs next year. If I'd have to guess, I would say no. But hey, if Drake May turns out to be like the next C.J. Stroud with like Clint Kubiak as his offensive coordinator, could they potentially go on a run and maybe be like a wild card team next year? Who knows? All right, so now let me know down there, or not let me know. Go ahead and click that subscribe button for me right now to stay locked in on the Washington Commanders all offseason long. Every time they make a big move, we're going to have you covered with a breaking news video right here on the Commanders Report. We got videos for you just about every day, breaking down the latest news and rumors surrounding the Burgundy and Gold. So if you want to join the most interactive community of Commanders fans right here on the YouTube platform, 100% free, do me a favor, click that subscribe button right now. Then we got one from Patrick Starr. Nice profile picture, by the way. Says, any Cowboys players you could see Quinn trying to bring here. So I actually want to see the list of free agents that the Dallas Cowboys have this year. I don't think Deron Bland is a free agent, right? I don't think so. Trayvon Diggs isn't. Stephon Gilmore would be interesting. He's a little bit older. I think they might be trying to stock up on younger players because this is a rebuild. But Stephon Gilmore is probably the one free agent that's still playing really good football that fits this system. If they want to get kind of like a good CB2 option, something like that, I think Stephon Gilmore would be fine for the right contract. Then we got one from Christine Wilkerson. It says, what defensive players could we get in free agency to match Dan Quinn's scheme? So L'Jarius Sneed, cornerback, is definitely an interesting option because they play a lot of man coverage there in Kansas City as well. They do everything in Kansas City. They do zone, they do man. L'Jarius is one of the best press man corners in football. If Jalen Johnson is available, maybe he's an option. I think he'd be a good fit. So there's definitely some good options at corner. And if you don't bring back Kendall Fuller, you're going to have to get a corner. And then I just think defensively, you need to get a really good edge rusher. All right. And I think Danielle Hunter is that guy. Now, if Josh Allen or Brian Burns is available, I would prefer those guys. But unfortunately, I think those guys are getting franchise tagged. So I think that Danielle Hunter is going to be the best available edge on the market. I think you got to throw as much money as you possibly can. What'd you say, Jeremy? Not Chase Young. Get out of here. He's done. He's going to the Chicago Bears, all right? So now you tell me, down there in the comment section, name a free agent that you think the Commanders should sign this offseason. Do you want to go out and get a corner? Do you want to get a big-name edge rusher? We need an edge rusher, by the way. Go out down there in the comment section. Let me know which free agent you want the Burgundy and Gold to go out and get this offseason. Then we got from JJ, the jet plane, and he says, we will have a leg up on the Cowboys this season, or will we? I think so. And maybe it's just minimal. I mean, it all comes down to the execution, right? But at the end of the day, this guy has been with that organization for the last 3 years. He knows the strengths and the weaknesses of every single defensive player on that Dallas Cowboys roster. And he's practiced against that offense. every single day for the last 3 years. So he knows the strengths and weaknesses of that side of the ball as well. So if you're looking for somebody that can give you a little bit of an advantage over the Dallas Cowgirls, I mean, Dan Quinn is that kind of guy. Absolutely. And not just the Cowboys, by the way, because he's played the Eagles and the Giants twice a year as well. He knows those teams very well as well. So he knows this division. He knows the strengths and weaknesses. I think this is a really good fit for other reasons as well, but this is definitely an advantage that the Commanders get by hiring Dan Quinn. And then you got one from Arnaldo Castro. And he says, how would you feel if we traded back and drafted O-line and stuck with Howell for one more season to prove himself? Listen, man, last year was his prove himself year, okay? So he was a fifth-round pick. Or if you're a fifth-round pick, you get probably, at best, one season to prove that you're a starter. That was last year. And the stretch to finish off the year last year was so bad. All right, he led the league in interceptions last year. It just wasn't good at all. I mean, the final probably 7 or 8 games of his season was probably the worst of any quarterback in the National Football League last year. And because you have that number 2 pick in your lap right now, you don't know if you're going to get an opportunity to take a quarterback that high ever again with Dan Quinn. I just don't think that you can pass up on that opportunity for a guy you drafted in the 5th round and was completely terrible down the stretch last year. So, no, I think they keep Howell as a backup, but I think it's time to move on and get a new quarterback, number 2 overall. Then we got one from GG23, and he says, could the Commanders trade for Dak Prescott? No. Dak is staying in Dallas. I know that some Dallas Cowboys fans are frustrated with Dak not winning enough playoff games, but he's making a ton of money. A lot of that is with signing bonus and restructures. So the Cowboys would have to eat a large chunk of that contract if he was traded. And that offense was one of the best in football last year. And Dak was arguably the most effective passer of the football in the 2023 season. So would you trade him? I definitely wouldn't if I were the Cowboys. If I'm the Commanders, I don't think I'm trading for Dak Prescott. I mean, I just wouldn't feel comfortable that he'd ever win a playoff game. So I don't think it works out for either side. Interesting idea here because Dan Quinn is the head coach now, but I really don't think Dak Prescott is a legitimate possibility. All right, so make sure you guys click that subscribe button for me right now for in-depth, everyday Commanders coverage for free right here on YouTube. Really do appreciate all of your guys' support. Help us get to 20,000 subscribers by the NFL draft by clicking that subscribe button right now. And until next time, hail to the Commanders. All right. Another question? Okay, so we have another question that we didn't get a chance to get to here. It's from C More Money. He says, biggest regret for the Commanders will be if we don't pick up Caleb Williams or Jaden Daniels. Rather gamble on them than rolling the dice on May, Daniel Jones 2.0. I mean, I don't think Drake May is Daniel Jones. I really don't. I think Drake May is pretty damn good, in my opinion. Now, Jaden Daniels and Caleb Williams, they're fine quarterback prospects as well, especially if you have like a spread offense. Let's say they keep Eric Bieniemy. I'd be fine with either trading up for Caleb, who I see as a generational QB prospect, or Jaden Daniels, who just won the Heisman Trophy. He's got a great deep ball. He's obviously very athletic, but there's certain things with Jaden Daniels that concern me a little bit. He hasn't played under heavy adversity in college. He's only had one good season in college. He takes big hits all the time with that skinny frame that he has. He doesn't do a good job protecting himself, which is a recipe for injury. And then also, as athletic as he is, Jeremy, what surprises me about Jaden Daniels on film is that it's not like he's getting outside the pocket and like making plays like out of the pocket. If he's leaving the pocket, it's to run. And, you know, when you look at guys like Caleb Williams or Drake May, if they get outside the pocket, their first option is to throw from outside the pocket. That's not the case with Jaden Daniels. And I think because of that, Drake May is more of a pro-style quarterback. And if you're getting a guy from the Shanahan tree like Clint Kubiak or Brian Greasy or Darrell Bevell from Miami, if you get one of those guys, you need somebody that can operate from within structure and then also make plays outside of the pocket as well as a thrower, not just as a rusher. I think Drake May does a better job of that. Now, I know some people are going to look at the numbers or whatever and say, Of course, Jaden Daniels had the better season last year than Drake May, but May had a terrible O-line, very few wide receivers to throw to that were barely open, and Jaden Daniels had Malik Neighbors, who I think is the second coming of Odell Beckham Jr., and he had a bunch of other great weapons and a great offensive line. So it's like, if Drake May were in Jaden Daniels' shoes, does he put up that kind of production? I think there's a fair argument to say that he would have, okay? So I do think Drake May, slightly better prospect than Jaden Daniels, but I'd be okay with any three of them. I think they're all worthy of top 3 picks, but I just want to make sure that they're fits for the offensive coordinator's scheme that they end up bringing in. Then we got one from Braylon Swore here. And he says, on the topic of edge rushers, what do you think about Josh Uche from the Patriots? I would love to get Josh Uche from the Patriots. Not as a number 1, but as a number 2. I think the Commanders have enough money with bringing in with a new quarterback, rookie quarterback on a rookie contract. They have enough cap space to pay a guy like Danielle Hunter $24, $25 million a year and get Josh Uche and pay him like $8, $9 million a year. And I think that'd be an awesome duo. You got Josh Uche, one of the fastest edge rushers in football, screaming off the edge with incredible bend. And then you've got Danielle Hunter, one of the best tacticians, just bullying guys on the left side there. I think that'd be a great, great pairing. And if you can get Josh Uche and Danielle Hunter, I am 100% on board with that pairing. All right, so unless we get some super chats here in the next 5 minutes, we're going to say goodbye for today. We've got one super chat in so far for $10, so we've only taken one shot. And he has 2 raffle tickets, all right? So every $5 you spend, 1 raffle ticket to win the raffle item for this month, which is, if you want to show them the picture here, Jeremy, an I Survived the Snyder Era t-shirt, all right? F Dan Snyder, he ruined this franchise. He completely set this team back so long to where now we have to go to a complete new rebuild, which is exciting. But at the same time, Dan Snyder sucks, all right? So if you want a t-shirt that shows that you survived the Dan Snyder era, $5 super chats will get you into the raffle to win that at the end of the month, all right? So we'll be doing live shows every Thursday, breaking down the Commanders, breaking down free agency, breaking down the draft, breaking down everything this offseason. Every $5 you spend this month on the show, 1 raffle ticket to win that t-shirt. $10 today, we'll take shots. I've got this nasty tequila alternative that my girlfriend got me because I don't drink alcohol. But this stuff tastes like straight bitterness, all right? Like, it just tastes bitter. That's all. There's no positive to drinking this, okay? So it doesn't make you feel good in any sort of way, Jeremy Chugs. At least he's got Patron. Okay, so $10 shots, $20 tortilla slaps. Jeremy's an Eagles fan, all right? So this is our only chance to really slap Jeremy Chugs. We got 5 more minutes to get a $20 super chat. I want to slap him in the face with a tortilla. All right, this is our only chance to do it because he's not going to be our normal producer here on the Commanders Report. All right, so if you want to see me slap an Eagles fan in the face as hard as I can with a tortilla, $20 super chat gets you 4 raffle tickets, and I get to slap Jeremy. All right, so we're gonna put the shot clock on here for 3 minutes. If we get a $20 super chat, we'll extend it for another 5 minutes. All right. Let's go. Oh, yeah. All right, so go ahead, grade the hire. After everything that I've said today, has your opinion changed on Dan Quinn whatsoever? Grade the hiring for me. A, B, C, D, or F. For me, I'm giving it a B+. All right? I think an A+ would have been an offensive head coach with a great scheme like Ben Johnson or Bobby Slowick. That would have been the home run. But I'll take the double, all right? I think this is a very solid head coach. He's a great leader. He has a really awesome defensive structure. He's got connections to the most successful offensive coaching tree in football. So, listen, if he hires Clint Kubiak, I think I'll raise this to like an A hiring. Because you got great defense, great leadership, great offensive structure with a new rookie quarterback coming in. I like this hire if you get a guy from the Shanahan tree. Now, if he goes with like Brian Schottenheimer, then it goes down to like a D for me. Like, you got to get the right offensive coordinator. Then we got one from Commanders fan number 1, a first-time super chatter. So let's give him some Ric Flair drip. Woo! I love it. And he goes, what is your opinion on Brissett? I love Jacoby Brissett. I thought he was clearly the better quarterback than Sam Howell last year, and I think he showed that what a decent quarterback in the Commanders' offense last year and Eric Bieniemy's offense was capable of. I mean, the guy was one of the highest graded quarterbacks in football last year because every time he took the field, all the Commanders did was score touchdowns. Okay, so if Eric Bieniemy is brought back, I would love to see Brissett as a backup option. But I just think he's going to try to go somewhere else. He's going to try to be like a bridge quarterback, a spot starter somewhere else. And unfortunately, I don't see him back with the Commanders in 2024. So let me know right now down there in the comments section. We got 45 seconds to get a $20 super chat and slap Jeremy Chuggs, the Eagles fan. Let me know if you guys want me to slap Jeremy Chuggs. He's sweating over there. I can see him. He doesn't want to get slapped. Come on, who's gonna be the legend that puts in that $20 super chat right now? Come on now. What's that? I mean that's fine. You don't have to. I mean, I understand why some people don't like it. All right, I'm not trying to, say that if you don't like this hire, you're not a fan of the team, or that or that you don't know football or anything like that. All right, it's just my opinion that he brings good defensive structure. He's a great leader in the locker room, and he's got connections to the best offensive coaching tree in football. And if he ends up hiring somebody from that tree with a new rookie quarterback coming in, I think this could work. That's just me, though. If you disagree, that's fine, because I understand that this hiring has Ron Rivera written all over it, and of course we don't have good memories with Ron Rivera. So, all right, so that's the timer. Unfortunately, didn't get that $20 super chat, didn't get the slap Chuggs. So that's unfortunate, but you know what, man? We had a good time today. We talked about Dan Quinn. We talked about the future of this football team. Make sure you guys click that subscribe button for me right now. I want to say thank you to Jeremy Chuggs for stepping in in kind of like an emergency situation here. Appreciate him. We'll see you tomorrow with another Washington Commanders video right here on YouTube, 100% free.